All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jesus and Justice with Dr. Tiff. I have someone where I adore her name. Her name is attorney Tiffany Hill. It's just something about the name Tiffany that is just so beautiful to me. She is from Louisiana. She is a graduate of the Southern University A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So go Jaguars, my Southern University sister. She's an attorney. She's a contract negotiator, consumer litigator. She is a filmmaker, and we're going to be talking about her latest film. And I'm just so proud of her. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome attorney Tiffany Hill. How are you, attorney Hill?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here talking to you. Of course, I love your name as well. But thank you. I'm always grateful for anyone allowing me to be on their platform. So it's great.
Absolutely. I'm honored that you're here. So let's start off. So it's Jesus and justice. And so you are an attorney. So of course you fight for justice. But I want to know, when did you come to the Lord? How did you form that relationship with God?
Well, I grew up in a very small community, but it was a Baptist center community, and we spent my entire childhood going to church more than I ever thought I would want to. So much to the point that I told my parents one time, like, when I get grown, I will never go to church again, because we were in there every day, Wednesday night Bible study, vacation Bible school, church at our churches, and visiting surrounding churches. So it's really one of those things where, as a kid, you don't understand the foundation and what's been instilled in you and how important that'll be later in life. So, it was something that I was immersed in as a child. Of course, didn't have the maturity to appreciate all of what I was being surrounded by, but definitely grateful for that and that foundation, and having that to pull from later in life when I really did grasp why that was so important.
Wow, that's awesome. So what inspired you to become an attorney?
I always tell everyone my late grandfather, is the reason why I wanted to be an attorney. And again, it goes back to my childhood. As a child, he called me his young attorney. And I always said, I like to argue. I like to be right, state my position. I would do that until the end, like where literally people just get tired and say, okay, you win, like whatever. So, but he started introducing me to people as his attorney. He would be like, this is my little attorney, and she's going to law school. And I really honestly never thought about another career. So I know, these days where we talk a lot with people and even younger professionals that I mentor about having several interests, in case something doesn't go as planned, and so you can pivot. But I honestly did not have a plan B, because all I knew was that I wanted to go to law school, and that was my plan from the beginning.
Wow. So what are some of the pros and cons that you like being an attorney?
Well, I love the profession of law school. That's a great question. I think law school prepares you for so many things that you deal with in life. And the other thing I love about the profession is it really does touch upon everything. There's not a single thing really that you do that doesn't have some kind of legal implication. So you're signing contracts daily, whether you're going to getting a gym membership, it's just so important and so vital, which is why I love contract law, because I stress the importance of understanding terms and how that impacts you and what your liability is. So that's the one thing that I certainly enjoy about the profession. I think sometimes the downside could be, we talked a little bit about finding that balance and what that looks like. I'm grateful that I have a lot of flexibility. I have 3 young boys, and I've created a way to have flexibility to where I work all those things in. But that's probably one of the challenges. That's not limited to the law. It's limited to life in general for all of us.
So you are a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and you're also an HBCU grad, if you're a graduate of Southern University. How does it make you feel seeing Vice President Kamala Harris as breaking that glass ceiling of not only being the first woman as the Vice President of the United States, but the first woman of color?
I think it's a very exciting time and necessary time. I mean, we've always had the talent to be in positions and have seats at the table similar to that, but it's awesome to see that we're being recognized for those talents, especially as women in today's society. So it is definitely an honor. I remember, I remember when President Obama was elected. Like, I remember everything I was doing and watching her when she was elected in the inauguration as well. So those are things that are priceless, that, you know, as I watch them and think about them, and then I think back to stories that I hear of my parents and my grandparents, to where they never imagined things like that. And it's that close to, you know, a reality, that these are people that I know and I actually was around, who never imagined that something like this would be possible. So it really is significant.
We're seeing HBCUs get so much buzz. You know, I'm a double graduate with Alcorn and Southern, and we're seeing HBCUs get more recognition than I've ever seen. And so, how does it make you feel being an HBCU grad? And can you tell our listening audience out there, because you would be surprised of how many people still degrade HBCUs, that don't think that people have a chance in life of being as successful as individuals that go to a PWI. What do you want to say to that?
Well, I think that narrative is old and outdated. We've
Mm-hmm.
definitely shown what we can do, you know, in our respective professions. One of the other many hats that I wear is I serve on accreditation boards. And so I remember, like, early in my career, serving on accreditation boards where, you know, there's one or two African Americans at the table, where we're basically talking about or stressing the importance of diversity and including HBCUs. So it's great now to see the shift to where now they're wanting to find ways to work with HBCUs and highlight the things that are going on those campuses. So, I mean, of course, in everything, there's always more work to do, but there's also a lot to be proud of, I think, as it relates to HBCUs. And that's attributable to all of us, yourself, you know, all of us putting in the work and highlighting and showing that we are capable of, you know, accomplishing those same things, regardless of the fact that we didn't attend what, quote unquote, is the predominant institution. I think our training equips us in better ways than,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've seen
Yeah.
both sides of it, because I attended Southern University and Louisiana State University, which is a PWI. So I've seen both sides of it. And I think my experience and the life skills that I gained from Southern far exceed, you know, what was offered to me in other environments.
Oh, yeah. I think that if you can survive, I think that the one word that comes to my mind with HBCUs is survival. You know, when I think about my experience at Alcorn and Southern, you know, if you can survive, and it taught you, it pushes you to prepare you for life. You know, being at Southern, being at Alcorn, it taught me that you have to make a copy of everything. You have to make sure that these things are in writing. And that truly prepared me when I started working, when I graduated, you know, those survival skills, you know, and for HBCUs, what I love about it is that I wasn't known at Alcorn or Southern as a number. I was known by my name. So not only are you an attorney, a mom, but you're also a filmmaker. And I was just watching the station Aspire not long ago. And so you have a movie, The Last Time movie on Aspire. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the Last Time film project, it was produced in 2017. It's a domestic violence awareness film project, and it basically shows or portrays a couple who are privately dealing with domestic abuse, but in the public eye, they're a very influential couple with a lot of, you know, they both hold high positions in the community. And so the film project was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. We had actual survivors of domestic abuse as a part of the film project. Tommy Ford was, I think it was one of the last projects that he was a part of before his untimely passing. We had a great cast and crew as a part of the project. And it's important because it's one of the things that I advocate for as a survivor of domestic abuse, just ways to continue to have authentic conversation and break the barrier of where people are uncomfortable talking about it. And so that was the goal of the film project, having a piece that is entertainment, but it also elicits discussion and conversation about a topic that otherwise might be hard for people to just start talking about.
Wow. What inspired you to do this film on domestic abuse?
Initially, I was producing a piece just to have as a talking tool to educate about domestic violence. So I was going to do like statistics about it and just have like a sizzle to lead into like speaking engagements and advocacy work. What inspired me to actually make it a film project was just that ways of, okay, how can we not only just have something that tells how many people are abused per year, you know, all the stats that we see all the time. What more can we do to make it a comfortable environment, you know, to make someone want to say, okay, maybe I should reach out to someone, because a lot of times it's viewed as a very embarrassing thing, even though I certainly don't think that victims of domestic abuse should feel that way. However, you know, it can be embarrassing. It can be hard to open up to your family and your friends about what you're experiencing. And so this project we took to university campuses, you know, local domestic violence organizations, and we showed it. And then after it, we talked about, okay, what do you think Jasmine, the main character, was experiencing, or how do you think she was able to overcome it? So it kind of just broke that barrier, and where you're able to talk about it in the aspect of a film, but actually get out real conversation and real solutions for people who might need that.
So why do you think that it is so hard for people to leave these domestic violent relationships? To some people who may not understand it, who may not have experienced this. So to some people, they're saying, you know, well, if a person is beating you, they're verbally abusive, they're physically abusive, why do you continue to keep going back? Why do you want to make it work with someone that is abusing you, who's not treating you kind? What do you say to those individuals who don't really grasp that concept of staying in a toxic relationship?
Well, a lot of people don't understand initially what, like the physical abuse is hard for us to always identify that as abuse, but there are many people in emotional abuse situations, financial abuse, where they're initially not really understanding what that control even means, first of all. But I always try to stay away from the, well, why didn't the person leave, or why didn't they do X, Y, Z? um, a big part of our film project was also, how do we focus on the abuser, or shift that to, because we always say, well, why didn't this person do a plethora of things, but we don't really focus on the accountability of the abuser themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of manipulation usually in domestic violence situations. There are a lot of safety concerns. You know, there are many reasons as to why a person might quote unquote stay, but no one usually is sitting in that environment thinking, oh, why am I staying? You know, they're just trying to survive and make it from day to day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we often see where there are some people who leave and will do good for a few days or maybe a few weeks, but they oftentimes they go back. And so what do you say to that? Why do you think that it is one of those things where once they leave, they have that plan of escape, but then they end up going back to those situations?
Again, it's a situation where it's hard, you know, it's hard to tell what control or manipulation or what they've experienced that caused them to make those decisions. I will say, as having gone through similar situations, that it definitely takes a lot of work, on intentional work and healing on yourself. So I always recommend, you know, intensive, very intentional counseling and therapy that is focused on rebuilding yourself so that you cannot be subjected to that control and manipulation in the future. And then
Mm-hmm.
also recognizing and understanding why you were a part of a situation like that, so until you are committed and able to put in that work. And then again, as I stated earlier, there are always a number of reasons why that might not occur, whether it's children, whether it's financial dependency. There are so many things that, who am I to even try to
Mm-hmm.
understand someone else's journey or their struggle with that. So all that I do and offer is try to be a resource and try to let people know, number one, be informed of their resources that they have to leave a domestic violence situation safely. And then also, encourage and assist through that healing and that therapy process as well.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said, that so many times we ask the questions, or the blame is not on the abuser, it's on the victim. That person is so weak, or why are you doing this? Obviously you must like it. And I've always told people, I don't know who likes being abused,
Right.
whether it is physically or verbally, and me encountering a situation similar to that, I have to say it wasn't, I had to understand that I did not have very high self-esteem about myself. I was talking a good game, but it
Right.
was, I wasn't, I was being a hypocrite, because if I loved myself, it would be no way possible that I would even be attracted to that. And because I had low self-esteem, I did not think that I could do any better. I thought that this was it, because like you said, it's the art of manipulation, right? When you have somebody saying, well, nobody likes you, no man in their right mind is going to want to be with you, you're ugly, you're fat, you this, you're that, you're not smart, you're dumb, you'll never make it without me. And especially when it's some of these relationships where it is financial security, some people
Right.
would rather go through the misery than being out there and not having a roof over their head. But I had to understand this, is that you cannot put a price tag on peace, because when you have the nice house, the fancy cars, and the luxury lifestyle, but you come home and it's nothing but pure hell. It's nothing but pure hell. And I would rather not have all of that and have my peace of mind than going home and just saying, you know what, I don't, let me just go home. Because you would be surprised of how many people, when they get off work, Tiffany, are dreading to go home. That people
Right.
will find any and everything to do just so they won't have to go home. They'll go home just in time to go to bed, because it's just so much confusion and chaos. And then the other thing I'll say is that for me, it was the pride. I was
Right.
so caught up in my titles, my degrees, all of my credentials, my resume, and I wanted this image in front of people. And I was so afraid of, well, what is everybody going to say about me? What is everybody going to think about me? Have you ever went through that in your life, where you cared or worried about what others thought about you?
Yes, and so everything that you just stated, I totally agree with. I actually talk about a lot of that in my book, Authentic Me, about just that, the image, the thinking that if this doesn't work out, that you're a failure, the struggles with self-esteem. There's even a portion of my book where I talk about where I was giving a lecture to university students about self-esteem. And then I cried that night because I was like, how dare I sit up there and tell them about self-esteem, and I'm not even exercising that in my own life. So it is that conflict of, how do you correct that? How do you get out of that? And so I certainly, like I said, agree with everything that you're saying. And it's a process, and it's manipulation. So you always have to recognize it as that, when you're working with someone, or if someone confides in you. I think the worst thing you can do is be judgmental, because you don't want to make the person feel that they can't talk to you, or not be comfortable sharing things with you, because even though you're probably thinking, you know, now that I'm out of that situation, I hear people talk about it. I'm like, you absolutely can do better. Your life can be better, but you have to remember that they're not there yet because they're still in that environment, and you always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. One thing I learned going through it is this, is that when you are tired and when you are ready and when you are done, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to take your mama, your daddy, your friend, your
Right.
cousin, whomever to tell you, girl or
Mhm.
guy, because there are guys in domestic violence relationships, that it's
Right.
time for you to get out of it. When you make up in your mind that you are done, you are done. And one thing I've learned is that it doesn't matter how many times you tell a person you need to leave from that situation, you need to leave from that situation. They're not going to leave until they get enough. Once you've had enough, it's nothing that nobody can say. See, Tiffany, I'm wired very weird when it comes to relationships. Is
Right.
that when I'm in a relationship, and this is whether I'm in a friendship or whatever, I give my all to that relationship.
Right.
And sometimes I will fight when I shouldn't be fighting. I will still go the extra mile when I shouldn't be going the extra mile, when the
Mhm.
person should really be doing that for me. But
Right.
when I am done, it is nothing that you can do to change my mind. Once I
Right.
am mentally over you, that's a wrap for me.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a personal decision. And
Yeah.
then also one thing that you said that's really key is about people can't say you should leave or when you should leave. Number one, that's the biggest time or biggest safety concern anyway, is at the point where a person leaves. So you definitely want to make sure that anyone counseling or working with someone in a domestic abuse, in an abusive situation, that you're giving them good counsel. And a lot of times just the up and leave without a plan is not always the best thing anyway, because you could be putting their lives or the lives of their loved ones in danger.
What do you think? So we talked about the victim. Let's go to the abuser. What do you think is the root of the abuser? Why they are like this, the controlling, the manipulation, the degrading? What do you think is the issue there?
You know, I probably could give a million and one guesses, but one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of is, unless you probably are an abuser, can you really think like that? You know, can you
Mhm.
really think with the twisted mindset of wanting to manipulate or hurt someone? And so you know, in my own situation, I've tried to think what was the driving force for that, or why would someone do that? But I don't now give that a lot of thought, because I'm like, that's not who I am. And so it would be hard for me to try to understand that.
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, I think you know, to just take a guess, a lot of times it's people's childhood, the way they grew up, or a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I do feel that more focus should be on why are we not holding them accountable in the same
Mhm.
way that we want to hold the
Mhm.
victim. And I think when there's um, widespread publicity, or you know, it's like, oh, it's a busted lip, arm almost killed the person, oh, then we're all eyes on the abuser. But
Mhm.
absent that, you know, when it's not to the extreme, we really don't, as a society, focus on, well, what's wrong with this person and why aren't they getting the help or the services that they need to not continue to repeat this behavior.
Yeah, I definitely think we need to hold the abuser accountable, and we have to stop making excuses such as, well, maybe this person had a rough childhood, or they have a lot of stress going on. They just going through a lot in life. It's their anger is not at you, it's at the world. I have to say that is that's to me that's a coward act to make excuses of why a person. See, here's the problem. We're all going to face hardships in life. All of us have struggles, right? And all of us, in some way, some shape, some form, we struggling, whether it's internally, what have you. But it doesn't give us a right to be abusive to other people. And it makes my heart weep when I see people who used to be like me that are in these relationships where it's so toxic. It may not be physical abuse, but the verbal abuse is just as bad. And because of the fact that they don't love themselves, they don't feel that I can do any better, or I've been with this person for so long and this is all that I know, or I have kids with this person, or like your movie, we are a influential couple, and how are we going to how would this look into the world that we're getting a divorce or we have problems, and if I really expose my husband or my wife or whomever, is that would be detrimental to our family. So I'm glad that you're shedding light on this, because this is a much needed conversation. Now, I have to ask you, with all of your success, have you ever faced as women, have you ever had that hardship of not really being embraced by other women?
Well, I'm sure. I guess I'll say that. But I don't know if that's limited to domestic violence or just in general. You know, before we went live, we were talking about how some people can just be so judgmental, and everybody, or not everybody, those people that we're talking about have a lot to say about how people choose to live their lives. I'm grateful that I've gotten to the point where I really don't pay attention to that. You know, I think, as you stated, the friendships, the relationships, the things that I have, I pour a lot into that. And that's who I focus on: my family, my friends, my people that I know do support me. And when you do that, it helps eliminate the other noise, you know, of who might not like you, because I always tell even my clients, I'm like, I'm not for everybody. Like, every client is not my client. And that's just a life lesson. You know, that's not, I don't think domestic violence survivor or, you know, attorney or whatever, that's just in life. There will be people that probably don't like you, and if you spend a lot of time focusing on that, you will not be happy. So that's never been the focus. I do, though, to your point, as a woman, especially as an African American woman, I always try to present to women who want to talk to me or who need something, need advice, need help professionally. I always try to present myself in a way that's friendly and helpful and with good energy, because I know there are a lot of people who do not do that. And all of us can do our part in changing that stereotype and that narrative about how women, and particularly Black women, interact with each other. Like, I'd never talked to you prior to this Zoom, and we got on here talking like we've been talking forever. So I think we need more of that, because there is this narrative that women don't get along really or support each other, and we're jealous of each other. And that's just, it does not have to be the case.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, when I reached out to you, I think one of the first things I said to you was that I was proud of you. And you don't have to know a person for a long period of time to not show people love, because we have two strikes, not a strike, but we have two barriers. We are a double minority. We're women, and we are African American women. And so for so long, African American women have been depicted in such a negative light. We're loud, we are rude, the baby mama drama, we're on governmental assistance, we're drama, what have you. We're just a difficult woman. We're the angry Black woman of what has been portrayed. And I think because we are portrayed so negatively, I think that we as women have to do a better job of lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down, and stop being jealous, stop being hateful, stop hating on one another. If I see Tiffany like not doing something, like I may pull you to the side and say like, hey sis, let me talk to you for a minute. But I think that we have to check our motive. Is it done in love? Or are you being jealous hearted? Are you just hating on this person? I think that we as women, particularly African American women, and as brothers and sisters of Christ, we have to understand this, is that there's room at the top for all of us. And I can be at the top and have my light shine, and you can be at the top, but my light is still not dimmed. And so many times we have people where you are jealous of a person because someone may be younger than you, may be more attractive than you, their resume may be a little bit more hefty, but that does not mean that they are a better person or they are more than you. It just may be they may have accomplished more, but in the eyesight of God, we're all the same. And so I think it's unfortunate when we see, especially women that look like us, when we're so busy tearing each other down when we should be lifting each other up. If there's something that I can do to help you or vice versa, and I can do it, then I'm going to help you.
Right.
So, you know, I
No,
think
that energy comes across. And so I'm sure everyone that talks to you on your show, you know, they all feel that, because it was, like I said, a pleasant exchange before we even got on live here. And then even before that, all of your communication has just been very encouraging, and that's great. And like I said, I think that's something that each of us can and should do in our daily lives. I often get people that, you know, they might reach out via social media and they're like, I have a question. I'm like, let's jump on a call. Then I get on the call and they're like, I'm surprised that you got on the call. I'm like, why? Why are you surprised? I'm like, wow, is kindness that rare these days? Let's do better.
right. Right. Now let me ask you this as we wind down. So you're an attorney, and we've just seen George Floyd. He received justice, and former officer Derek Chauvin has now been sentenced. And as an attorney, are you hopeful that the justice system is turning around and righting the wrongs?
I think we have to be hopeful. Like, that's the only thing we can do, you know, is remain hopeful. Of course, being a litigator, I just shouldn't even say being a litigator, because just being present and aware in the world today, you know that there's so much more to be done. And it's easy to get discouraged and be disheartened. You know, my hats go off to attorneys that do civil justice work, because I can't even imagine having to meet with parents. Because every time I see a story like that, I think about my own children, or, you know, my family members, or what if this were to happen to even me, you know? So it's very easy to be discouraged. But to answer your question, I am hopeful. There are a lot of laws that are being implemented that hopefully can prevent this type of thing from happening at the rate and the speed that we've seen it. But it's really one of those things that scares me, because to me, it comes down to, will we ever move beyond racism? You know, at the heart of it, it's how people view us as African Americans. So that's the part that's scary to me. I think we can put as many laws on the books as we can, and we should, but how do we make that shift to where we're truly viewed as equals, you know, in our society?
Mm-hmm. So what is next for you? What are any new projects that you're working on? What's next for you? And how can people get your book and follow your movie?
Oh, awesome. Thank you for asking that. So what is next? There's always a lot going. I feel like I always have a lot going on. Definitely working on with our production crew in Atlanta. We're working on new film projects. I am on social media. My website for my legal is my initials, thlegal.org. On social media, is th_attorney. But my website really is probably the best place to go to find ways to connect with me, and also the book, learn more about the film project, and my legal work as well. So, and I'm always happy to connect with your viewers or anyone watching, because I think, like, truly what you said about us always being a resource and knowing that helping someone else never diminishes what we have going on. So I think it is a privilege, you know, to be to have the legal training that I've been afforded. And so if there's something that I can do to help someone and help them understand what their rights are, and seeing that a lot of times our counterparts don't have the same access that others do, like that's really what drives me to and motivates me to want to help others. Like, it doesn't mean that I have to be the one doing your case or whatever, but can I refer you? Can I tell you where the information is? Like, whatever small thing I can do to make sure that we're on a level, equal playing field, I'm always happy to do that.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed this conversation, Attorney Hill, and I definitely want to invite you back to come on Jesus and Justice with Dr. Tiff. And you all make sure that you follow her, go to her website. What is your website again?
It's thlegal.org.
Okay, thlegal.org. Make sure that you follow her on all social media outlets, and make sure that you watch her movie. And so thank you so much, Attorney Hill.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.